Bulbasaur, I just want to catch you! Hey guys, and welcome back to I Should Be Writing. First and foremost, I am wearing the official Bookborn shirt for the 2016 Readers Retreat. I can't really zoom out, but on the back it says Straight Outta Fiction, which is hilarious. I am officially booked for the Indie Author Book Expo in Des Moines, Iowa, November 5th. That event will be linked down below. There are a few authors that are 100% confirmed, like Jolene Naylor, who I talk about all the time here, but she's officially confirmed, as well as several other amazing authors. So if you're in Des Moines, or if you are able to get to Des Moines on November 5th, I would really love to meet you. That would be great. So yeah, I have non-book news, which I'm kind of excited about. My soap company, Buddy and Bee, is officially launched. I will link our official website down below, and that website is linked to our Etsy. So everything you see on there is available on the Etsy, and you're not missing anything. I'm so excited for this. I've been working so hard to get our launch set up. We're having our first vendor gig coming up soon, which I'm really looking forward to. We're actually debuting a lot of really cool products at our vendor gig. Of course, all of these products will be available online, and it's really exciting. You know, it's almost exciting as when I launched my first book, when I published my first book. So I've been working really hard to get Bunny and Bee out there. So it is almost the end of July, and July, for those of you that don't know, is one of the Camp NaNoWriMo events. I unfortunately have missed the last few days, last week and a half, preparing for this event. But you know, I am gonna work to reach my goal. If I don't, I'm sorry. I know I said that the Celine rewrite would be available mid-August, and I'm still working very hard on that. So as far as I can see, we are not off track yet. But anything's possible. So if you are participating in the July Camp NaNoWriMo, I hope that you're hitting your goals. That's so exciting. Congratulations. If you're not participating in the Camp NaNoWriMo, then you should definitely participate in November's full-blown National Novel Writing Month event. It takes place every year, and I'll link the NaNoWriMo website below. But just keep in mind that you can't set up your book or your goals yet, but you can at least check the website out, possibly donate. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, so today I really wanted to talk about an article that I read. It's not really an article, it's an opinion piece that I read regarding what reviewers are, what reviewer pet peeves are for authors, like things that reviewers are tired of reading from authors. And I felt that it was a very interesting piece, because a lot of the time when you hear, you know, what authors or what reviewers should do, it's coming from an author's point of view, not a reviewer. So I thought that reading that was very interesting, but there were a lot of things that I didn't necessarily agree with. And I'm going to link the original piece below, but I'm going to touch on a few points that I kind of didn't necessarily agree with, and things that kind of were like, what? You know, so the first thing was the author of the piece said that they were tired of seeing a lot of he asked, she answered, or he said, she said type situations. And I think I get it, but at the same time it's like there's a lot for an author. There's a lot that we have to explain in 200-300 pages. It's not stuff that we necessarily have to explain, but depending on our style of writing, those he said, she said, or I said, they said type moments work for us. If you as a reviewer, you as a reader don't like that style of writing, then that author probably is not for you. I read a blog post by Laurel K. Hamilton, I want to say it was last year, where she was talking about how she sticks to the he said, she said, he asked, she answered, I asked, they answered type formatting, because she had issue with, you know, a lot of authors writing, or you know, I chuckled, or, you know, things that weren't necessarily physically possible. So she in her writing tends to stick to I said, they said style. Of course there is the I asked, they answered, they asked, I answered setup. Now the author of the piece, like I said, I think I understand where they're coming from, you know, when you've got, you know, something ending in a question mark and you say I asked, or how's that tuna casserole, he asked. Like that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think that to have that as a pet peeve, maybe those authors that write in that style aren't necessarily the authors that you should be reading. And yes, you know, having that style of writing does lose readers for some people, but those readers would have left anyway. So a lot of authors go in with this go into self-publishing or publishing in general or writing in general with the mentality of I want everyone to read my book. And that's not necessarily possible. Not every reader is going to like your book. Not every reader is going to be into your style of writing. So when people do opinion posts like that, it's walking a very fine line, because you're trying to be helpful, or you're trying to, you know, direct authors in a path that you think would be most helpful for them, but I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. You know, trying to develop a style of writing that works for everyone is impossible. There is no one perfect way to write. So when someone writes an opinion piece like that, while it is an opinion piece, it isn't always necessarily beneficial to the community. Whereas, you know, the same thing can be said with authors that write blog posts telling reviewers how to review their books. That's not beneficial to the community. Not everyone is going to like your book, and they have a right to express that. Just like, you know, if you don't like my style of writing, I'm okay with that, but you probably don't want to read my books, just because that's how I write. That's how the readers that do enjoy my books like my style of writing. So I'm not going to change that to try to get more readers. Like, yes, I would love for everyone in the world to read and love my books, but one of the great things about self-publishing is that I get to write my book and you get to write your book the way you want to do it. No one can tell you otherwise. That is your book. So, you know, that's just one of the things. And another point another 2 points that the author of the piece made, or they said that was something that were a pet peeve to reviewers, was having too much or too little dialogue. And those are two separate points. Too little dialogue, too much dialogue. And again, it goes back to a style of writing. Every author writes differently. Every author's characters speak differently to them. Every author's narrative is different. So honestly, there is no such thing as too much or too little dialogue. It is, again, if you don't like that style of writing, you probably shouldn't be reading those type of books. And you can't expect every author to adhere to something like that. And like I said, I don't think this piece is like trying to tell every author how to write. I think it was just, you know, trying to be a helpful piece. But I don't see it being helpful to be honest, because there are books that are descriptive driven, and like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is more description and history than dialogue. And if you don't like the description and you don't like the backstory to the Game of Thrones universe, to Westeros and all like that, then you probably shouldn't be reading Game of Thrones. It's not for everyone, but I don't see anybody going to George R.R. Martin and saying, you don't have enough dialogue in your books. Or, I really can't think of a piece that has too much dialogue, but you can't go to someone and say, well, there's too much going on, you know, your characters are conversing too much, author. That doesn't work. Like I said, I know that I understand that this piece is trying to be helpful, but I really feel like it wasn't. I really feel like a problem in our community is everybody trying to tell everybody else how to write and how to review, and that doesn't work. We're a self-publishing community. Self-publishing. Everybody has their own style. Even authors that are traditionally published, they all have their own style. And I don't see how, you know, what one person views as too much or too little dialogue, I don't see that's how that's really helpful or beneficial to the community. So I'm not trashing on the piece, I promise. I don't necessarily agree with it. And I don't see the point to having people out there saying, oh, there's too much or too little of this, or that's a pet peeve, or you shouldn't do that if you want to be successful. No one can guarantee success. No one can shape the self-publishing community by, you know, just their opinion. Like, everybody writes differently, and I think that is a great thing about writing. We all have our own styles, just like every artist has their own style of painting or drawing, or, you know, every architect has a different style of building buildings. So, you know, to say that, you know, it's a pet peeve, then those probably aren't the style of books that you should be reading. That's just my opinion on the matter. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the owner of Kickass Torrents being arrested. I saw this initially on the Philip DeFranco show, and I'll link that episode down below. But yeah, Home Dude was arrested for making a legal purchase, and Apple released the guy's information, I guess, to like the FBI. I don't know who it was released to, but they compared the IP addresses from a legal purchase made on iTunes to a login to the Kickass Torrents domain. So that's how the dude was caught. So this is definitely a big win for the anti-book piracy community, the anti-piracy community, because Kickass Torrents is one of the most successful pirating websites out there. And so yeah, that's it's pretty interesting. So I don't know of any other backlash to like users of the website or anything like that. But I do have to say that, you know, I'm glad that it's down, at least from the book perspective, because, you know, when one website goes down, 10 more come up, but, I mean, you know, it's pretty awesome. I'm pretty glad about it. I do want to let you guys know as well that right now on Smashwords, a lot of the Amaranthine series by Jolene Naylor books are on discount, and for the entire month of July, I believe the Spellbringers, the first 3 stories and the prequel are free by Trisha Drame. I'm gonna double check all that and link everything down below, or possibly leave some bubbles up. But yeah, you should definitely check those out. There's a lot of great sales. There's a lot of great sales going on right now on Smashwords. Right now, I don't have anything on sale just because I am trying to finish Celine. I can tell you that becoming Jason, becoming Lily, becoming Silas, and becoming Celine are now Kindle Unlimited exclusives. I just want to kind of see how that goes and see if that's something that works out, because those books aren't going anywhere. So, you know, just wanted to try something different and see if the Kindle Unlimited audience is more interested in those stories that way. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry that this is a long video. Again, there are going to be a bunch of links down below. If you like this video, please feel free to share it. Don't forget to subscribe. If you like the video, please press that like button. It's always appreciated. And I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!